Kia ora and welcome along to the Met Service National Show for Wednesday the 17th of May. Well, it has to be said, we are looking at a bit of an unsettled spell of weather coming up. But to get there, we've still got a pretty decent day ahead of us. You can see on the satellite charts, plenty of clear sky across the likes of the North Island and the top of the South. This next area of wet weather is already feeding on towards Fiordland and Southland, and we have got some severe weather watches and warnings in place already for those areas down across the southern parts of the country. Heavy rainfall piling in towards Fiordland and Westland, and we have got those severe weather warnings through there. Some watches as well through parts of Southland and the rest of Westland as that rain piles up as we go through the rest of this afternoon and through in towards Wednesday as well. You can see there across the top of the North Island, things are looking pretty settled and generally fairly dry. As we go through the night time, we might find a bit of mist and fog reforming through the North Island, but down south is where a lot of the activity is for tonight. You can see we've got more wet weather on that western coast, so those severe weather warnings run through in towards Thursday as well. You can see that snowfall about the higher parts of the main divide, perhaps down as low as about 600 or 700 metres through parts of, say, central Otago and those areas around the Queenstown Lakes district. So around about those areas we could find some snowfall as we go through the night time tonight. So for Wednesday in towards Thursday, some heavy snowfall out of the question there. So there is a snow watch, a heavy snow watch for those areas, and also some road snowfall warnings for places like the Crown Range Road and Linda's Pass. So you can find more of those about on the Met Service website. But for the North Island, things generally are pretty clear, just with a bit of fog forming as we go through and towards the early hours of the morning for Thursday. Here's a look at our temperatures. It has to be said, we're going to find tomorrow night, so Thursday into Friday, not nearly as cold across the North Island. So although it's a cold and perhaps frosty night as we go through and towards the early hours of Thursday, should be the last one for a couple of days as the temperature starts to pick up. For the South Island, I think we're still looking at temperatures down to around about 3s and 4s or so for the likes of, say, Queenstown. And like I say, with that return of some snowfall down to around about 700 metres or so as we go through the night time tonight. As we head on in towards that Thursday, you can see that wet weather continues to feed on towards the western coast. Also some wet weather in towards the likes of Dunedin and into Clutha. There's a severe weather watch out for you as well. But you can't escape this big area of low pressure up towards the north. Wrapping around that, some really strong winds and some heavy rainfall in towards the far northern parts of the country by the end of the day on Thursday. So we are going to find things go downhill for the North Island as this low pressure runs in. You can see those stronger winds, those red arrows, just showing the heaviest, the strongest winds as we go through towards the end of the day on Thursday. So unsurprisingly, we have got a collection of severe weather watches and warnings. Really two separate features to watch out for. Firstly, this heavy rainfall on the South Island. That's what we've got going on for today and in towards tomorrow. Also that snowfall watch for the likes of, say, central Otago and Queenstown Lakes area, and also that watch for the likes of Dunedin and Clutha. The next feature is that next area of wet and windy weather that runs in towards the north. It's a lot faster moving than the systems we've been used to over the last few weeks or so. But I think we are going to find the winds picking up as we go through Thursday, and also a burst of heavier rain as we go through Thursday into Friday. So do keep an eye on those forecasts. We'll start off though up in the north for Thursday. You can see there's plenty of dry weather around through most of the daytime. We'll keep a bit of cloud around first thing. I think perhaps a few pockets of fog just reluctant to clear for a time. Then you can see that next feature moving in. Heaviest rainfall in towards northern through the afternoon, then spreading southwards towards, like I say, Auckland and the Coromandel during the evening time. And with that, those stronger winds as well. You can see it continues to then feed across the rest of the North Island as we head through the night time. So for places like Wellington and around towards the eastern coast, you're in the best spots likely to stay dry. But even here, I think we'll find our cloud thickens up as we head through the daytime. In terms of our daily highs, up to around about 18 or so in the far north and even down towards Wellington, not a bad day there. And with this next area of low pressure, we'll also find milder air coming back towards us. So look at those nighttime temperatures as we head through in towards the early hours of Friday morning, sorry. It is going to be a much milder story than we'll see first thing on Thursday. So a real change in that respect. But it will be windier and it will be wetter and cloudier as well. Let's head down towards the South Island. You can see we've got that heavy rainfall on that western coast, that snowfall about the top of the main divide and perhaps about the higher areas of central Otago. That eases off as we head through the daytime. You can see this band of wet weather continues across the likes of, say, Canterbury and feeds through in towards Dunedin and Clutha. Keep an eye on the wind and the rainfall watches there. We are looking at a bit of a wet start today there. You can see it does peter out a little bit on this eastern coast. There's still wet weather on that western coast through the daytime. Head across towards Christchurch northwards. Most of the day, you're looking pretty decent. Should generally stay dry. Cloud with us on and off through the daytime, but mainly high-level cloud through the likes of, say, Marlborough. But you can see by the end of the day, that next lot of wet weather pushes in towards the likes of Nelson, and it's an area to watch out for. We could find some heavier rainfall with this low pressure across those northern and western parts of the South Island as we head towards the end of the week. So do keep an eye on those forecasts. As you can see for the temperatures, nothing particularly exciting there. 17s, 18s degrees Celsius, and still a little bit of a cool side down towards the far south, but perhaps I think just a touch of frost as we head through towards the early hours of Friday morning. Again, particularly where you find a bit of clear sky and light wind. So those inland parts of central Otago, inland parts of Southland, a cool start today for Friday as well. As we go through into Friday, you can see that low pressure is still with us. So this area of wet weather does move through fairly quickly, but you can see northerly winds will push that wet weather in towards places like the Bay of Plenty, the Coromandel, and these are areas which have already seen a fair bit of wet weather. So worth keeping up to date with those forecast watches and warnings. That rainfall then feeds in towards parts of the far northern parts of the South Island, so Nelson, Tasman, those kind of areas, and another area of wet weather feeding in towards the far southern parts of the country as well. So places like Dunedin and Clutha, keep an eye on those. The low pressure takes its time to clear through, wrapping around it still some strong winds as well, so rather a blustery end to the week, and there may well be some more watches and warnings issued with those winds as well. So do keep up to date with the latest forecasts and all those severe weather watches and warnings, and you can always find all that information at metservice.com.